Hi, welcome to my webinar on how I do articulation therapy with zero prep. So my name is Bridget Giraldo. I am a speech language pathologist. I am the owner of speechtherapytalk.com and members at speechtherapytalk.com. And I'm very excited to share how I run my articulation therapy sessions with zero prep. When I say zero prep, I mean zero prep. So let me introduce myself. My name is Bridget, and I have been working since 2006, so a billion years basically. And I have worked in hospitals, inpatient clinics, outpatient clinics, nursing homes, middle school, private practice, elementary schools, and now I have opened my own private practice. So I do get the challenges that us speech therapists face, and I've been working on sort of helping or trying to fix some of those problems that we face. And one, I have found ways to completely cut out my prep time. And that makes me happy, saving time and trees, but it also has created even more effective and engaging speech therapy sessions. So I'm going to teach you, well, first I'm going to share why I believe zero prep is the way to go. And then I'm going to show you how I accomplish it, step by step, minute by minute, how I typically run my therapy sessions, and I'll show you exactly what I do, the materials that I use. And then at the end, I'll even give you some free materials so you can get started today. Okay, so that's a lot to accomplish. Before we jump right into why I believe no prep is better, I'm just gonna let you know a little bit more about me. So in my teaching philosophies. So I am more of a no nonsense speech therapist. And by that, I have a lot of fun. So I'm very engaged, I'm very fun, joking with the students, not that, but I'm more no nonsense about my materials. So especially during articulation therapy, I want to get as much motor practice as I can in the short amount of time I have these kids. So I want hundreds or thousands of repetitions if I can get it. So I want to make sure I'm not wasting time with coloring, copying, laminating, any really complicated games. I'm more interested in getting as much repetitions as possible. And I used to feel a little bit guilty, I'll be honest here. I used to feel very guilty and maybe I also felt that maybe I wasn't doing as good a job because I didn't prep. I didn't spend hours on the weekends. I didn't spend, my nights and evenings preparing for all these sessions. And I felt guilty about it. But then I started to think about, you know what? These parents and these schools and these hospitals aren't paying me for my creativity, Pinterest type speech therapy sessions. They are paying for my expertise. They're paying for my knowledge. They're paying me for my brain. We as speech therapists are medical professionals, and we have a ton of knowledge and expertise on communication, on speech, and that's what they're paying for. They're paying for our knowledge, our ability to connect with children or adults, and getting them where they need to be with our cueing strategies, our teaching strategies, our goal writing. So that's what they're paying for. We don't need to feel guilty that we don't have these perfect, elaborate activities. Actually, the simpler, the better. The more natural, the simpler, the better. So I'm going to dive right into that now, and I'm going to show you how I do it and why I do it. Okay, so let's get started. So these are the reasons why I believe zero prep creates better sessions. So when we do prep, we are estimating or we're guessing where the child is in that moment in time. We are not taking into consideration the progress that they hopefully have made or even the lack of. So we're not looking at progression or regression. We're just assuming this is where they are. And that's not accurate. So it is better to create sessions that match exactly where that child is in that moment. The second one is we're not accounting for their physical and mental states. So maybe they're about to go to a field trip. They're about to go to the zoo and they're bouncing off the walls. And we planned a paper and pencil tabletop activity that's just not going to fly. Or maybe they're exhausted because they just came in from field day. Or maybe mom just had a baby and we have a lot of anxious, nervous energy. Or maybe there's a test coming up and we're nervous about it. So we need to assess where that child or the children are in that moment in time. What's the energy of the room? What's going on? Thirdly, and equally as important, it just takes time. Prepping takes time outside of your job. It takes time after school, before school, on the weekends, laminating, cutting, copying, and we just don't need to do it. And other than that, we save trees. I'm a big environmental person. That's just another whole nother topic, but I would like to save as much resources as we can, and no prep, zero prep helps us accomplish that. All right, now we are ready to jump right into it and how I accomplish this. And I'm going to take you through it step by step. So the very first thing that I do at every session is chit chat. So it might look like I'm just wasting time, but I take the first 2 to 5 minutes of every session and I chit chat. I engage the children or the clients in conversation. And one reason for doing that is I'm building rapport. And I think sometimes us speech therapists kind of skip over this, but we need to create trusting relationships where clients trust us. We need to make it a comfortable space for them to be, because let's be honest, speech therapy can be kind of tedious and it can last for a very long time. So we want to make sure children are wanting to come to speech therapy, they're excited to come to speech therapy, and we want to make sure that they trust us. It's also very vulnerable to work on communication and to keep trying something that is hard for us to do. So building rapport. The second thing that I'm doing is I am checking for that mental and physical state. So I'm checking in with them and seeing how they feel, like what's going on, what's their energy level. I want to kind of see what kind of tasks we might be able to accomplish today and what kind of cueing and attitude and energy I need to bring to the session. And third, and this does take some practice, is I'm doing a mini assessment. In the first 5 minutes, I am listening for progress. I am listening for errors. I am listening for what's going on with this child. Maybe I hear a lot of initial Ks in conversation, yay, but final Ks, we're really not getting it. And I'm going to use that information and adjust my therapy session accordingly. And I'm also listening, and this is just kind of something that just came up, for overall intelligibility. So I had a little girl who said the word actually. She actually said the word actually 1,000 times in the first 5 minutes. And it really was affecting her intelligibility. Now, the L and the SH weren't anything we were working on, but her errors were so atypical that we needed to at least get some approximations of these sounds for this word, just to kind of give her that immediate boost. Because a lot of people were not understanding her because of the use of this word and her atypical errors. So I'm also listening for that. What's going on? What compounding factors do we have going on? Now, if you're working in a school and you have a lot of kids, like maybe 2, 3, 4 kids in a group, you might want to jot down on a Post-it note, just like a few things you hear when you start jumping in your session. If you have only 1 or 2 kids, you probably can just, put it in your mind and start creating the therapy session as you are listening for their errors. Or maybe not, or you're listening and rejoicing in the progress that they've made. So the first 3 to 5 minutes, do not skip over the chit chat. All right, so we have already done our chit chat. Now it is time for reviewing goals. Now this is a must not skip part of the session. It's very tempting to skip it, but I think a lot of times children don't know why they're in speech therapy, and how are they going to make progress if they don't know what they're working on, how they're measuring success, and then taking that learning when they leave the therapy room. So we must review goals. Now this can take 10 seconds or it can take 2 to 3 minutes, depending on your group and depending on the child. So I'm going to show you some of the materials I use on my membership site. Now you can use anything that you have. If you have materials that are similar to mine, please go ahead and use them. But I'm going to show you how I run my sessions using my membership site. Now, the reason for this is literally the only thing that I use. A little bit of background about this membership site. When I started my private practice about 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that I had to buy all of my materials, and materials are very expensive, and I did not have the money for it. So I started making my materials. And as I started making them, I needed to be more organized. So I was putting them up on a page on my website where I could just the links to my materials. So I could go in, find the links, bring up my worksheets or bring up my Google materials and use them during my session. And as my database grew to the thousands, it needed more memory and space. So I started a separate website and the membership was born. I thought, other speech therapists might enjoy these versatile, no nonsense, get the work done, easy to use materials. And they also are in Spanish now too. And our Spanish is growing, just to let you guys know if anyone needs Spanish materials. Okay, so let's get back to the task at hand. So it's members-speechtherapytalk.com. And then we have to log in. And then we have access to all our materials that we need. Yay. All right. So for goal review, this can look very different for different kids. So if it's a first session, I go over to documentation, homework, and motivation, and I might pre-print these ahead of time. Don't be mad. That's light prep. I have a bunch of them in my office, but these goal review and self-reflection sheets, they have the goals, what they're good at, what they need to work on, what they're excited about. This is more of a self-monitoring tool, like this was our goal, how did we do today? And this is just a different, easy to print speech therapy goal sheet. So we'll write out the goals that the child's working on, and I can pull these out every month or so to review where we were and where we're at now. Now you can also use an annotation tool, like I just have this annotation tool, and you can use text and type it in if you'd like. If you don't want to print it and you just want to, put it in writing with the child, you have that option as well. But that's just some ideas. Now, for children who have been in therapy for a while, who know their goals, they don't need that much teaching. I like to jump over to these cue cards. So under articulation and cue cards, I have these no print. I mean, they're available in print as well, but I have these no print cue cards and I pull them up. And now I have cue cards for every sound. It has the letter. I think it's very important to match the sound with the letter. We need that phonological awareness. The anatomy, what do our lips do? What do our teeth do? What does our jaw do? And then the sound. So the bouncing sound, but we make our lips bounce. I will review the letter, what does the B look like? And I'll review what our lips do. And I'll usually have the children, I still want them to write their goal, even if it's just writing the letter. And children as young as 3, I do this. I pull out a dry erase board and I have them draw the letter, like we're working on B, we're working on S, whatever we're working on. We'll go over the sounds, the cue card for a quick review, and then we're going to jump into the rest of practice. Another option is under these sound cue cards are these Google warm-up slides. It just gives a little bit more information. So let's say this child is somewhat new. I'm going to go through this slide with them where we're going to trace B on the computer screen. We're going to review what our lips do, and then we're going to practice it in words. I may have them rhyme. And then we'll go through these pictures, like find, we'll say sand, and we'll decide if it has the B sound in it, or maybe I'll say find B, and they have to point to it. You can do it any which way you want for that. But it has just a little bit more teaching. So we're reviewing the goal, we're reviewing the sound, and we're doing a little bit of teaching in our goal review. So that's another option. For parents or for teachers, I like to email these teaching materials here. So if you go under teaching materials, and let's just skip to CH, I have these warm-up sheets here. Now you do have how to say the sound, how to cue for the sound, some cue cards. So you can email these to parents or teachers as needed, but these warm-up sheets are really nice for goal review because it reviews what the articulators do. Then there's a checklist. What does our lips do, our teeth, our breath, our voice, our nose, and our tongue? And then it has a word list that you can just do some drill practice at home. So these are really nice sheets to share with caregivers or teachers. You can also run through this in therapy if you want. You could use an annotation tool to check off as the child does it. So, let's say, yep, your lips rounded, good. Teeth, slight gap, good. Breath, hold it. Turn your voice off. Close your nose. Get your tongue, whatever you do. Get your tongue up, whatever your cues for CHR for that child, and then practice the sound and then run through. And then you can get some drill practice there too. So that's another really good option for goal review. Now this can take anywhere, as I said, from 10, 20 seconds to 5 minutes. So whatever your child or the group of children you're working with needs. And that's, I never skip my goal review. All right, so we did our chit chat. We did our goal review. Now it's time for drill. And this is something where I think we're tempted to skip drill. Kids want to skip drill, but we cannot skip drill because we need to get as many repetitions as possible to make this new motor pattern. So I have a lot of different options because drill practice looks very different for every child. And again, let's think back to our chit chat session. What's going on with this child? Are they super active? Do they need to get out of the chair? So maybe today we're gonna throw a ball in the air every time we say a word. And let's say this child's at the syllable level. So I may have the child stand up and I'll bring up this homework and motivation. And I'll jump to this drill counter and I'll have them, and you know what? I closed something and I didn't mean to. And then I'm going to make sure I don't close my cue cards and I have them readily available if needed during warm-up. So let's say we're doing CH. Okay, so the child stands up, they have to say ch at the syllable level, and I throw them the ball. And then I have to say ch, and they throw me the ball. And we go back and forth, and after every trial, I click counter, and then once they finish, we celebrate by picking a game, and they just got 50 practices of their syllables. If they're really struggling, I have this cue card that I always can bring up, review the sound, and then hop back to my drill counter. So that would be an idea for an active game. Or let's say I have 3 people in my group, and I can easily do that game, throw the ball back and forth, and we can all work together, or everyone has to do a turn before I click the drill counter. So that's one idea for drill practice. Let's say you are working on the word. You really need to work on S at the beginning, middle, and end of sounds. So I do, and you think we can do, your group is able to do just naming flashcards. So I'll get up my cue card if needed. Then I'll jump back over to, I'm sorry, I didn't walk you through this. I go to articulation flashcards. And then I can pick what sound I'm working on. So let's say we're working on S. And then I go to this no print here S flashcards. And I'll bring up these flashcards and we'll just run through it. And everyone gets a turn to say a word. And we'll go through S in the beginning, or we could scroll down to S in the middle. I color coded them so you can easily see when they change positions. Or S final, and we'll run through our drill because I have a motivated group that can do that today. Or let's say this group or this child is working on generalization. So they're really good at the single word level, but we're working on phrases and sentences. So I will click on this presentation that goes through it. Sing, to sing. She likes to sing. Seat, a seat, take a seat. And they can practice the drill of going from a single word to a sentence. And maybe I heard in the chit chat that they're starting to generalize, that we're getting really good at initial S. We need to take this to the phrase and connected speech level. So that's a really good option. But let's say this group is, or this child needs a little bit more motivation, like they're just not really into it today. I do have these really cute interactive Google Slides, I call them. So let's say, I want to do one of my favorites here. Everyone likes the butterfly. So let's say we're working on R's. I open this butterfly game and the child says the word rain. After they say that, I click the screen and a butterfly appears. Running, a butterfly appears. Story, a butterfly appears. And they go through it. They have a nice visualization of how many more trials they need to get through. And then they also have the motivation of seeing the beautiful butterfly appearing. So this one's really fun for those who need drill practice, but just need a little bit more motivation for the drill practice. And each sound will have at least 4 of these interactive Google Slides. So that one is a really great one for some kids. And then another one, let's say, I kind of like these caribou cards. Sometimes kids get a kick out of it. We make silly sentences. So let's say D, let's just pick D. Okay. So I'm going to grab my annotation tool again, and we're going to take turns saying a sentence. So this would be more drill for children who need to drill sentences. So they take turns picking 2 words like doctor and door, and they have to come up with a sentence using those 2 words. And the sillier the sentence, the better. And even to make it a little sillier, you pick the words for them and they're challenged to make a silly sentence, and they can pick the words for you and you're challenged to make a silly sentence. Very simple, very no nonsense, very engaging, but it gets a ton of practice at the sentence level. So that can be a really fun. Okay, so another really fun way and motivating way are these hidden pictures. So go to articulation and hidden pictures. And some of the favorites are the summer and spring. The images are a little sillier, so kids really like them, but you also have options for winter hidden pictures, fall hidden pictures, and just click a square flashcard type hidden pictures. But these are the big hit. So you can jump down to them. Let's do our CH. Now they're gonna load here in the PowerPoint. They're gonna open for us. And then we're going to go to slideshow from beginning. And now we have this screen of flashcards. So as the children name them and practice their sounds, you can click on them and a funny picture will pop up. Will be revealed. This is a really popular one. For each sound, you have 6 different slides. So you can do this more than once and the children will be surprised at the image. And this one is very, very popular. So I highly recommend this one to get some great drill practice quickly. And then of course there are printable ones if you'd like. You can also bring them up on a no print screen, like a tablet, an iPad, a screen, and you can annotate them, cross them off as you say them. But yeah, those would be the phonological awareness. I mean, the minimal pairs is a good one too. So if you're doing minimal pairs as part of your treatment and you want to get through just a quick deck, you can go through quickly these minimal pairs in a no print format. And they're just you can just run through them and there's lots there for you. Or if you need a child who needs a little bit more engagement, it's very simple. I call this a game, but it really is just a really quick drill practice. And you take turns just moving them, covering up, or uncovering, just like that, or tore. And you can work on your KT minimal pairs. So that is my drill practice ideas for you. And again, some of these you can do on the computer, and some of them, sometimes the kids need just to be more active, like my have to say a word to get a piece of a game. Another great one's Kerplunk. Every time you need one of those sticks to make the game, which is a really tedious game that takes forever to do, they have to say a word for drill practice. Then you can create the Kerplunk game, and then the reward is you get a play. And I always, just to reiterate this, have these cue cards up. So as we're going through our drill practice, I can access these cards as needed. All right, so now we have finished our chit chat. We have finished our goal review. We have finished our drill. So now it's the portion of this session where I focus on more natural, however that looks for that specific client or children. I focus on more natural practice. So I let the kids, I congratulate them on a job well done so far. And now I let the children pick. What do you want to do today? Now, I am pretty good at adapting it. Almost any game or anything they pick, I can find our sounds or our words, and I can quickly build some articulation practice within that game, depending if they're syllable, word, or phrase, sentence. But if I can't, I'll show you what I do. So let me explain a little bit more about that. So again, and I've said this before, I could care less what we do during our speech therapy session. If we are just laying on the carpet and throwing paper clips in the air, I don't care. I want the child motivated, and I want the child into the game. I want them having fun. And part of that is when they're into something, they're into their activity, they're a little bit distracted. So now they have to remember to do their sounds that they're working on with that little bit of distraction within a game. And that helps with the generalization process. That helps move their new motor habit into procedural memory. So let's say they pick hi-ho cherry-o. So we get out hi-ho cherry-o, if they're working on their CH, that's very easy. Their R's, that's very easy. If they're working on S blends, we can say spin before we take a turn. If they're working on K, we can pick a cherry. I can adapt pretty much anything. But let's say they're working on L's. It's hard. I've had a hard time figuring out how to practice L's with hi-ho cherry-o. So I would just go over here. In that instance, I would go over here and I would get our flashcards. So let's say we're doing L's. I would get our flashcards. I would bring these flashcards up on a screen, and maybe they just have to say a word, ladybug, before they take a turn. Or maybe they have to think of a sentence. I see a ladybug, and then they get to take a turn. That's worst case scenario. I like to figure out a word and have it incorporate it in the game to make it more natural, but I always have this option if whatever they picked doesn't match our goals. And I'd rather have them pick the game than me force them to play something. And again, I always have this up. So let's say we are working on our CH sound. So I can have this up on the screen. So if we're having trouble with our during cherry practice, I can, refer back to this. Let's get our air going like our train, or look, their teeth are together, our lips are in a circle. And I can use this cue card to help get good practice. So that's an idea. Let's say the child picks magnet tiles. Then maybe I'll treat it like a store. So they have to If I can't, if they're not working on M's, G, Z for magnetiles, or maybe a final I want. Maybe they're working on final T, I want a magnetile. Again, I would just pull up a flashcard. We can work on, they have to say this word before they take a turn. Now, if they're into some games here, so I let them roam around our room. You know, I have all the usuals, all the board games, train tracks, marble runs, blow up balloons, catch balls, darts, all that kind of stuff. But some kids like games. So I just want to let you know that these games exist, and especially for my teletherapy therapists. So like this game here, our PowerPoint games, they're very popular. Or we have some board games here where these utilize Google Slides. So we can, and this has the sound built in. So we can go here. Now this you have to use in edit mode. And you can click on, everyone gets to be a flower. So let's say I want to be the yellow flower and someone else wants to be the pink flower. They can take turns clicking the dice to start it rolling, and you click it again to stop, and then they get to count how many spaces. Like I got to go 5. And then I might scroll down here. Okay, say the word yellow. Okay, excellent. Now it's your turn. You get to roll the dice, make it stop. That's how those board games work. But again, it doesn't matter. I don't care what the child picks. I just care that they pick. And I want them to pick. I want them to be motivated so we get the most practice we can, and I'll adapt to whatever they pick, whatever meets their mental, physical, excitement, motivation level. I'll adapt it to get some great practice on the sounds that we just reviewed, drilled, and then we'll get some great, more natural practice. So that concludes our webinar. I hope you walk away with some ideas on how you can decrease or eliminate your prepping time. And I also have some free materials for you. So I'm going to put up right here, if you would just want to go to this site and put in this password. I'll leave it up here for just a second. You can access some materials to get started. So you can practice your no prep articulation therapy sessions. All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at bridget@speechtherapytalk.com. And thank you so much for being here, and I will see you later. Bye.